Imagine you're a head coach, writing tactics on the board before the match and explaining them to the players. But when you step out of the room and check your phone, those very tactics have already gone viral across social media. How would that make you feel? We'll discuss this in a moment, but first I need to share a piece of information that will surprise you. Kylian Mbappé was invited for a trial at Real Madrid at the age of 14, and Zinedine Zidane met him at the airport. Mbappé was naturally shocked at such a young age, but Zidane invited him into his luxury car, and Mbappé asked, "Do I need to take my shoes off?" Zidane smiled. "Of course not, come on in." 12 years after getting into that car, Mbappé is playing for the Real Madrid he'd always dreamed of, but he's been the focus of quite a bit of criticism recently. Do you think if Mourinho becomes Real Madrid's manager, Mbappé could return to the top and win the Ballon d'Or? In second place is the world's best footballer, Leo Messi. What do you think his first contract with Barcelona, the legendary club that has left its mark on football history and made Messi who he is, was like? In 2000, Barcelona director Carlos Rexach was undecided about signing Messi. Rexach intended to sign a commitment to reassure Messi's family, but unfortunately, there was no paper to hand. He wrote the contract commitment on a napkin lying on the table, and that napkin changed the course of football history. That napkin was sold at auction for $1 million a few years ago. Even the napkin signed for Messi is worth $1 million. So what about these players' fortunes? I'll explain that in the next video, so be sure to watch it. Speaking of money and contracts, you'll be shocked when you hear about the clause in Neymar's contract. When he transferred to PSG, he had an ethics bonuses clause added to his contract. So, what was this clause? He had to greet the fans before and after matches, adhere to club rules, and refrain from criticizing the manager in the media. If he did this, he would receive a bonus of between €375,000 and €500,000 every month. In other words, it meant earning money by being applauded. Just think about it. You're smiling and making money. That's the kind of life Neymar had. But this simple life brought him crashing down from the very top in an instant. I'll explain Mbappe's tactical situation in a moment, but the other shocking truth concerns another Brazilian, Firmino. When he transferred to Liverpool, his release clause was set at €98 million, but there was another clause in the contract that caught people's attention. Any club except Arsenal could sign him for that fee. If you ask why such a thing was done, it's because in 2013, Arsenal offered £40 million plus £1 for Luis Suarez, which angered the Liverpool management. This is one of those real football stories that many people don't know about. We're moving on to point 5, but brace yourselves because you might laugh at any moment. There's a footballer called Carlos Kaiser, and this man has a football career without having played a single minute. He signed professional contracts with big clubs like Flamengo, Fluminense and Vasco da Gama for 20 years, and then went on to deceive everyone by claiming he was injured. And he even retired without scoring a single goal. What's even funnier is that if you Google this guy, he's known as a con artist rather than a footballer. Go and try it right now. A comment like this came in on the previous video about Ronaldinho, and if the person who wrote that is here, they'd better listen to me now. In 2020, whilst Ronaldinho was in prison, a futsal tournament was organised, and the inmates were competing to have him play for their teams. Ronaldinho, however, agreed on the condition that he would never score a goal, only provide assists. When matchday came, he scored 5 goals and provided 6 assists. His team won 11-2. The championship prize, a 1/6-kilo pork leg, arrived. They cooked it together in prison and had a feast. He really is a very different sort of person. Let me tell you a little-known fact about another football legend, Maradona, from his time in Naples. Maradona was already being treated like a king in the city, but Naples' underworld welcomed him in a very different way. Local figures provided him with unparalleled protection and luxury. Maradona received significant protection and privileges from powerful local figures who reflected their influence in the city. Maradona, in turn, repays this debt by leaving trophies and successes in the city of Naples. In 8th place, you'll hear a tender story about one of football's toughest figures. He is Pepe, one of the toughest, most aggressive and fearless centre-backs on the pitch. Yet, as a child, he was the complete opposite. He was afraid of being alone. He slept in his mother's bed until he was 18. Growing up in Brazil, he couldn't sleep on his own. When he moved to Portugal, his father said, "You're a grown-up now," and he moved into his own bed. Pepe says, "When I went to Portugal, the hardest thing was learning to sleep on my own." On the pitch, he heads the ball at opponents. As a child, he couldn't sleep without his mother. Another surprising football fact concerns the Dutch legend Dennis Bergkamp. He soared across the football pitch for years, but he could never fly in an aeroplane. During the 1994 World Cup, a false alarm was reported regarding the Dutch national team's flight, causing a delay. It was actually just a journalist's prank, but Bergkamp was terrified that day and could never forget it. He even said he would never board a plane again. He took it so seriously that whenever he didn't have to fly, he travelled to away matches in Europe by car, train or ferry. That's why Arsène Wenger didn't even take him on some long-distance away trips, as the journey exhausted him. Even the greatest players we admire on screen have their fears. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, do so straight away. Number 10 on the list is the glasses worn by fashion icon Edgar Davids. Everyone thought it was just for style, but the truth was different. He had glaucoma or high eye pressure. He had surgery in 1999 and had to protect his eyes. He obtained special permission from FIFA to wear protective glasses on the pitch. If those glasses were put on sale today, they might be worth more than most footballers, but I'll explain that in my next video about footballers' expensive items. Be sure to watch it. There are some footballers who truly emerge from the impossible. Garrincha is one of them. Because when he was born, the doctors said, "This child won't be able to walk." His spine was shaped, his right leg turned inwards, and his left leg was 6 centimeters longer than his right. Normally, playing football would have been impossible, but what did he do? He became a World Cup champion in 1958 and 1962. He never lost a single international match played alongside Pelé. Here's another true legend who remains unseen. By the way, in the previous video, we listed 20 shocking facts about the World Cups. Be sure to watch it. In 12th place is a 5-year-old English footballer who was losing his hair. His name is Wayne Rooney, and in 2011 he made the following confession live on air. "I was going bald at 25, so why shouldn't I get it done?" There's a surprising statistic. Following that post, hair transplant clinics in London saw a 30% increase in demand. Similarly, the German legend Müller was involved in a similar situation. We already know of his interest in horses, but he runs a massive horse farm called Gut Wettelscombe with his wife. He takes this business very seriously, analysing genetic qualities in the laboratory. He was already one of the smartest footballers. Even if Müller retires, he'll still have a career. In 14th place is Chelsea legend Hazard's passion for hamburgers. 2011 Belgium vs Turkey match. Eden Hazard is substituted in the 60th minute. He gets angry, leaves the changing room, walks out of the stadium, and whilst the match is still on, eats a hamburger with his family at a snack bar outside the stadium. Live broadcast cameras caught the moment and Belgium went wild. He received a 3-match ban. Hazard, however, laughed and said, "The sauce on that burger is still on my mind. It was the best thing I've ever eaten." Another name with a penchant for food is Marcelo Brozovic. Apparently, he eats a sandwich with salami and drinks cola in the changing room before matches. He was spotted going to the supermarket to buy salami just hours after being knocked out of Euro 2020. Normally, you couldn't play football with such a lifestyle, but Brozovic runs 13-14 kilometers in every match. Perhaps it's genetics, perhaps it's Croatian blood. In point 16, there's a name whose footwork is better than most footballers. Yes, Fenerbahce's goalkeeper Ederson. So, have you ever wondered why his footwork is so good? Because Ederson used to be a left-back, but when running the line became too much, he must have decided to switch to goalkeeping. Lazy but clever. In 17th place is Jack Grealish. In 2019, he was scoring goals one after another with Aston Villa, winning matches. Grealish keeps wearing the boots he wore in those matches, believing they bring him luck. Even if they're torn to shreds and filthy, he still plays in them. Do you have a superstition like that too? Now, the craziest man in football is on the list. Go on. Guess who it is? It's actually very easy. Yes, those who wrote Balotelli in the comments have won. During his time in England, 36 hours before the Manchester derby, he and his mates were getting bored in the bathroom, and that famous firework incident happened. There was a well-known incident involving Balotelli and fireworks that caused a small fire and £400,000 worth of damage. 2 days later, he scored against Manchester United, lifted his shirt and said, "Why always me? He really is a madman." The same man, whilst driving around Italy in his luxury Mercedes, noticed that the gates of a women's prison were open. Overcome by curiosity, she walked straight in without a second thought. When questioned, she explained, "I was curious to see what it was like inside, so I went in." Do you like Balotelli then? In the 20th spot is Diego Costa. He sneaks up behind coaches walking in the corridors of the training grounds and barks like a dog. To scare them, he lunges at their arms and pretends to bite. His teammates are used to it. They say, "That's Costa, it's normal." Club staff change their route when they see Costa. Well, we've come to the end of this video too. See you in the next one.